that, I'm talking to Scotty Martin, that sent it to me. And I said, hey, I said, you guys should be having Lieutenant Colonel Pete Chambers on. And as soon as I said his name, I went, wait a minute. They go, what? And I go, I just heard his voice. He's signing on now. And then I heard him say, this is Lieutenant Colonel Pete Chambers. So it just, and he's one of the signers on the 11 pages. Don't you love that there are 11 pages?
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful, member. Yeah.
If I would have known you didn't have all this stuff, I would have sent it. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, when I saw that and I read that, I was like, oh, the wording in this is exceptional. Maybe we can talk about the wording. I'm sure you can break that down, and because I don't quite understand all of it.
Okay, but we can do the summons and the letter,
Yeah.
And then we did the 43rd point, but people I don't think still understand. They knew all of this at the time of the Civil War. We're behind. We're catching up. They knew all of this, and that's why they stopped fighting and went home. Are you just killing believers and the fathers in the family? You're destroying the family? What? There's no purpose to this? And then all these bases around the world and the British Commonwealth being in the wording, the people are going nuts. I can't wait that. Number 4 is my favorite, that we are bringing back our sovereignty, no longer Commonwealth, no longer bases in all these different countries, defending all these different countries and paying for it. Because there's another level to this. You probably already know the guys that are committing suicide are not typically due to PTSD. It's due to the fact they were flying the children to the embassies for the big parties for the guys.
Oh, wow.
And it was too much for them because they had families. And they had to do it. They were under orders to do it. So don't you love that accountability letter? You gave orders against our Constitution, and you did this and you did that. And now, do you see the timing, the stretch out? They had all these opportunities to clean it up.
Yeah.
All of this time to clean it up. All of this time to be advised. How many times? What you did was against our Constitution. And they're like, so? Because nobody's had to pay consequences. Now, we've waited long enough. We've captured enough information. And then, did you see the Pete Hegseth yesterday? I don't know what to do with that because it's a video, and I sent it out on Twitter. I've got a lot of stuff we can access on Twitter, just in case you want to.
Yeah, we can do that.
Because yesterday he came out, I came out yesterday on Facebook, and it was just a little video, and he had all the documents in front of him. And the bottom line, and I put this on Twitter, the generals used to have troops of 6,000 per general, and now it's 1,400. So now we have all these excess generals.
Yep.
And my guess last week was that this is reduction. My guess last week is they're catching up with you. You had this whole time, almost 2 years, to clean up your act, to repent for what you've done, to make it clean, and instead they keep doing the same thing.
Yep.
And hurting the people and hurting us. It's all hurting us. And so there's a little thing on Il Donato Trumpo I put out, and it's really cute because the song is a rapper, and he's doing Hail to the Chief, and it goes along with all of this. And Il Donato Trumpo is also the president. He's got his presidential, then he's got his real Donald Trump, and then Il Donato Trumpo is like his Babylon Bee. Because he was been asked by the press, and there's several times, and there's even one on Il Donato Trumpo where the press is asking him, are you Il Donato Trumpo? And he goes, yes, I am. And then the black glasses come on and the gold chain. So exciting days.
Yeah.
Exciting days. He told us he was giving the power back to us, but he knew he had to help open the door to make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so where would you like to begin? You want to begin with the letter?
We can begin with the announcement last week. On Twitter, he went out to the troops and did the Lord's Prayer. So that's kind of a neat way to start. He did the Lord's Prayer with the troops. Then he turns around and he makes this announcement. And that happened, all of this happened on Thursday, 9/25. And then I included the London stuff because all of this relates. I don't know how much time you have today. I don't know if you want to break this into pieces, if you want to break it into topics, because the military, what they did with this. And I tried and I checked with Juan and I didn't hear back. He's been trying to call all day, but it just hasn't worked between us. It's just phone tag. And so I was asking him, there was a letter that they called the military troops in. And when they had them in the same room, they intimidated them, forced them to sign a document against us that they would operate against us on our soil. And the guys were forced to sign it to stay in the military. Do you remember that letter? It happened a few years ago. And when I called friends, they go, "Oh, yeah, I remember you talking about that." And then all of a sudden, one day, an entire Army troop came in, and they hadn't heard about this, but they all looked at each other and they're like, "We're not signing." And they all walked out. And that's what made it end it. They were doing this to all these different troops. And the entire troop said, "We're not," they looked at each other and said, "We're not signing this." And they got up and walked out.
Wow.
And so I'm trying to find that letter, and every time I try and find it, because they say they were going to take him through court-martial, dishonorably discharge him if they don't follow the order of signing this, blah, blah, blah. And so guys felt intimidated, and they signed, just like they felt intimidated, so they got the vax. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So all of this has been building up to where we're at now. And it all goes back to that page 313 and 314 with Kissinger, the plan. If our military is gone out of this country working at all those other bases and left us vulnerable. And this is what all the guys, even Flynn has said this. So I go serve my country for more than 30 years and I come back and where we are is just, it was just such a shock to him as to what was going on. And so that's the idea of closing all those bases, because they were all structured under the British Commonwealth, because we've been under the British Commonwealth. You and I have talked about that.
Right.
Is that all of this is coming to fruition. And the key point that's been running through my mind all day that's so emotional, my dad said, and when this summons came out today, I could hardly take it in. My dad said, it was our last conversation. He talked to me about a half hour. He was having a little bit of trouble with short-term memory, but so I never brought up all the horrible stuff happening. God evidently told him, because he told me about all of it, and he knew all of it. So God was letting me know that my dad knew who I was before he left. And that was my prayer. And at the very end of that, his statement was, "You think all this horrible, horrible stuff they're doing to you is never, ever going to matter. But soon, very soon, you're going to realize how much it matters." And he smiled and winked at me, and then we hugged again. He was already in the hospital bed. Mom, he was fine during the day on a walker and stuff, and in the hospital bed, almost 94 years old. And just a brilliant man, a quiet man, a medic in the Army. And to say that to me, and I never thought it would turn into this, because I had no way through this storm, Michael, except with God. I mean, I've had no way, I've had nobody I could trust through much of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for him to say that statement, and I go, "Oh yeah," like somebody's going to care that I put some judges in prison. Somebody's going to care that, you know, the FBI destroyed my life. Somebody's going to care, you know what I mean? And now people go, "How the hell do you keep connecting these dots, Sheila?" And I went, "I've lived it."
Mm-hmm.
You know, so when you've lived it and you can see it's not just a bad financial system, a bad judicial system, a bad bureaus of government that weren't in the Constitution, 405 departments that want to take from you and take from you that weren't part of our government. When you realize that it's all illusion. It's all something else that we're not part of. And yet it's saying it's controlling us. That's the thing that my passion is. I wanted to get to the bottom of this. I wanted to know, how is it all connected, and to find out it's connected at the top where you don't see it. And Kennedy said, everything secret is repugnant, because all the plans were made secret. All the people positioned were secret, connected. We never knew what was going on. And when Trump kept saying, "Watch the wife, watch the wife, watch the wife," and now he's starting to say, "This one is married to this guy." I mean, we've been saying it, showing pictures. This one's in our government and this one's in the media. This one's in our government and this one's in top corporate. And they're all connected, and the plan is the same for all of them. And I never, ever could have imagined we were going to get to this day. So I'm sorry, because this is really emotional for me to see this summons and see the wording of it.
Yeah.
And see that it means that we're not going to be sending our guys all over the world. We're going to stand in faith and take care of it here, and we're going to take care of each other in America first. It's all coming to fruition.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I've seen it for a little while now. I saw it when I worked for the CIA and, you know, while I was still in the military. when I worked for Ambassador Bremer and so forth, I started seeing, all of these things start to unwind and be revealed. And then, the deep state coming in and, crushing everything back down. But now it's reached a level where it can't be suppressed anymore.
Because there's too many of us united together.
Right. Yeah, there's so many good people that we're trying to reveal, and like JFK. I saw a lot of these people that were removed from office or, had untimely deaths and so forth. So it's pretty amazing to see, Trump being able to, President Trump being able to, push this forward. And we see like this beautiful White House that's being revealed to us. And that didn't happen in the last few months. That was being restored for a long time. So, yeah, so all those things that we heard that Biden was never even in the White House, I think we're starting to see that now. He's starting to reveal that, and all things are being revealed now. So that magnificent White House, and he's talking about all the gold, 24 karat gold that he used in the White House. Wow. So I guess.
And the paintings he brought out of the vault after 100 years.
100 years out of the vault, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And have you seen, he put this whole new area entrance, like a visitor area, right outside the Rose Garden in that area.
Yep.
Okay, so then the wall right there, have you seen where he's put all the pictures of all the presidents?
Oh, that's fantastic. And then for Biden, he's got like a pen.
The auto pen. And the name instead of Biden is auto pen.
See Trump on either side of him, and then the auto pen. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I put all of this is on Twitter if we want to access it. I don't know if you want to go into the England stuff today because it all relates when he talks about the Western, the Western. How did he phrase it? The Western World Kingdom. He put the wording in there in the summons and about the British Commonwealth. Having these bases all over the world. I mean, all of his wording. And when they were in England, he didn't just inspect the guard Charles wasn't just fumbling behind him like Queen and Charles did back in 2017. He was almost exactly, you could measure 6 feet apart. He stayed 6 feet apart. Even on the turn, he stayed 6 feet apart, went way out in the turn and did the 6 feet apart and followed him. And then when they got to and I put this out on Twitter too, remember when they were on the parade grounds when he was in England?
Yep.
Okay. And they've got our Marines doing the crisscross in front. This was so masterfully put together. And she was wearing the funeral suit, the double button down funeral suit and the purple royal color hat. And it was over her eyes as it was at inauguration, which is you don't see me, but I see you. Like we see who they are. Do you see what I mean? Wow. She did the same coding there. And so who were they honoring? They weren't just honoring the president. They were honoring America. And then when the two Marine parts of the band went through each other like they do in high school and college bands where they do the parade through. Once they were done, here's the guard band of the Kingdom of England coming forward playing what? YMCA.
Wow.
It was our guys were doing the intro part, but who did the YMCA dance part was the England coming through. And then the planes went over and everybody said, well, that was just for America. I said, no, England's flag is also red, white, and blue in equal. They made that. And so in all of that, all of those flying over. It's just, I mean, what's been going on, what he's been revealing, and then it stepped right into this, and we're headed right into Red October. And he came out today and said, I hope you're buying more popcorn. This is going to be a great week.
Yeah, a lot of people said this is going to be quite an interesting week. So, I mean, with tomorrow, when he's going to meet with all those admirals and generals, 800 of them, a lot of us are saying probably a lot of them are going to get the chopping block. And because like you're talking about the numbers don't match. And I've been talking about that for years. We have 4 times more admirals and generals than we had during World War II. It's ridiculous. So that's going to get cleaned up. And a lot of those people don't support President Trump. And I think this letter basically outlines that. He's basically put them on notice.
Well, and the guys who put it together, it was just like, a small group. And the other guys were like, we wanted to sign this too. And they said, you're all going to have a chance to sign it. It was out on the internet for a while at our military accountabilityletter.net or something. So people could go on and sign it. But what's really powerful is on congress.gov, and that if people just type in military accountability letter, just like you're typing it in, not like a website, just military space, accountability space letter, it will come up as options. And I sent a picture of where I put out on Twitter because people kept saying, I can't find the link. You have to go to the link that they put out. And so it is, so I put that out on Twitter too, because you can't just go to congress.gov and try and find it. You have to have the numbering of where it is on congress.gov because everything is on there. And so when you do that, it'll say congress.gov, but you click on the blue lettering that says what it is. And then when you do that, it'll take you right to it. And you can scroll down, and don't you find it interesting? There's 11 pages of signatures with the last guys who I think were the guys who composed it. But I don't know. I'm just guessing because the redactions are right at the bottom of page 12 because it's 11 is war and there's 11 signature pages and it's 12, which is structure in America. To them, it's 4. So they, the other kingdom. And so they put this out at exactly 4 a.m. on 1/1 of 2024. 1/1 is 11. So they declared where they were headed. And when the congress.gov, you go there, it says Declaration of Accountability, military accountability, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Incredible.
So that letter is profound.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the letter that you're talking about right here. This is the beginning of it. I'll make it big so we can look at it. So the Declaration of Authority and Summons.
Well, this is what he came out with today. This is a summons. The January 1 letter doesn't have the header or the border.
Oh, wow.
But let's go through this one because this is nobody picked up on that letter, that January 1 letter. And as soon as I heard Pete Hegseth was bringing them all in globally, and people are like, well, I don't think that's ever happened. We shouldn't have all these guys globally. That never happened before. In the Civil War, everything was here. And then they started involving us in these. But remember, every one of these was a setup. We've covered that in our other interviews. Everything they've done to us is a setup. So if we want to take these apart one by one, the paragraphs, because the wording is so specific in both.
Exactly. That's what I was alluding to. Yeah, unbelievable. So by authority vested in the President of the United States for America.
That's Republic.
Yes.
Okay, scroll down and see the seal. I don't know if you can expand the seal. But the seal is not the same either. The Great Seal of the United States of America, 1776, but the word for of America was what they did so they could take it into a corporation, but for America is the government is for the people. And people and nation in Hebrew is the same word. So that's why he did this up at the top. It's for America.
Brilliant. Wow.
That's Republic terminology.
I was hoping you could break this down for us. This is fantastic. So yeah, that's very impressive. Commander-in-Chief under Article 2 of the Constitution and by the immutable laws of common law sovereignty, massive there. It is hereby declared, 1, lawful command under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, UCMJ, every flag officer of the United States Armed Forces by oath and by law is bound to obey the lawful orders of Commander-in-Chief. The UCMJ affirms that all generals and admirals remain subject to such orders, including the command to assemble. So that's in the UCMJ, but we've been noticing that there's a lot of admirals and generals that have not been, abiding by this. So this is good.
Okay, so now let's take the terminology of Republic. This is a declaration of the authority of who has the authority that you are receiving a summons and you have to be in attendance.
Right.
You're in contempt of court now in their British system, bar system, the British Admiralty law. And so this is common law wording. So you're being summoned And it doesn't matter what your excuse is, you don't have an excuse of not being there. So this means they can't say they have other duties, they can't do anything. They must, including the command to assemble. That's the summons structure. And this is all done in our original terminology before the major British court system and licensing through London.
Wow.
Of all of our attorneys and judges.
Yeah, so this is interesting because this is going to change a lot of things, because when you come onto the quarterdeck of a United States ship, you salute the American flag, but there is a Union Jack that's also flown. It's part of that admiralty law that you're talking about.
Well, there's another thing related to this today. You were mentioning about, isn't it interesting, he's meeting with Netanyahu, and they're making an agreement. Did you see how he announced how he was meeting with Netanyahu regarding the state of Israel?
Ooh, yeah, Netanyahu didn't look too happy in that.
Well, and it was in the scroll. It wasn't just in his wording. It was in the scroll underneath him that they are meeting regarding the state of Israel.
Interesting.
Because that's how it's registered as a corporation in England.
Oh, that's
in the city of London. Yeah.
Yes. Wow. Interesting.
We've all been under that British structure.
Yep. So two, this is where the wording gets very interesting. Sovereign right under common law. So this is basically breaking free from the British Admiralty, law and what we've just been talking about. It's breaking free. This is what I saw this is what I thought when I saw this.
This is our original republic structure.
Yeah,
and that's why they made their 10 square miles in DC sovereign for them. That was their sovereign soil. They made themselves sovereign, but they made themselves as majesties over us. Wow. Ruling from there. And we never picked up on it. And that's why the People's House, the Capitol, look what they did on J6. That really confirmed they think they're way above us. They think they're completely separate from us. That we're just a different class of people, and they're sovereign. And that's why they were so mad at the Native American Indians, because they knew they were sovereign on this soil. It was their soil. It was given to them by God. So what do you mean? You want to take it away from us and take us out of our houses? Our sovereign rights have never been available. That's why J6ers had no victims' rights. I dealt with identity theft. You have no victim rights. They've removed all of our rights as us. And that's why everything the president has said, I'm giving the power back to the people. America first. Americans are going to be honored. Americans are going to be taken care of. Our military is going to protect our Americans. And this has not happened in generations.
Amazing. So from ancient precedent to modern practice, the head of a sovereign republic or kingdom, that's interesting, holds the prerogative to summon his military leaders for counsel, which is what he's doing, recognition of authority, and the reordering of the nation's defense. This right is both inherent and incontestable. So that tells me right there, the reordering of the nation's defense. It sounds like some of these guys are going to get marching orders to go bye-bye. So.
And what happened with going back to Department of War? People thought, are we going to war? You have a Department of War to protect you and not be in war. And that's what he's been doing. So we were a Department of War until these people come in, like Charles Joseph Bonaparte, the great nephew of Napoleon Bonaparte, comes in and he becomes the Secretary of our Navy. That's his first job. And his second job is to be Attorney General and to set up these special agents that became the FBI. I mean, who are these people? You know what I mean? And so he came in and did this and made it defense. So what have we been doing? We've been defending everybody's borders around the world and not ours. We've been defending everybody's rights, but not ours. So there's a lot in just this one little section of this, that we're no longer a Department of Defense. We're a Department of War. We are going to protect liberty and freedom on this soil. And that's why I've been talking about the Faith Monument versus the Soldier Monument, is because the Faith Monument gave us the 4 pillars to keep us in liberty and freedom. And they didn't even put it up until 20 years after the Soldier Monument. And so they didn't want us to know these rights and that we're sovereign on this soil and that God gave the soil to the original people on the soil. And to this day, people don't think the Native American Indians had any rights on this soil. And they were here for a few centuries before Christ visited them here before he left in 33 AD. So just saying, guys, I mean, there's history here that's been hidden from us, and that's why this is so exciting. And I don't want to slow you down because 3 and 4 are so powerful.
Summons to assembly, therefore, by order of His Excellency of the Western Kingdom. This is I've never seen this before. Excellency of the Western Kingdom.
Well, did you know that people don't understand? Did you know Canada was supposed to be part of us? Canada was part of our sovereign soil when we started this out, and England wouldn't allow it and put them back in the Commonwealth, and they went with it. So the Western Kingdom is this section, which that's why Canada might be the 51st state. I mean, do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything is coming together.
Unbelievable. And President of the United States. All flag officers are hereby summoned to Virginia on September 30th, tomorrow, 2025. This assembly shall formally recognize and reaffirm allegiance to the constitutional republic of the United States of America. So they're going to have to say, they're going to have to reaffirm their allegiance, evidently.
They're going to have to retake their oaths.
They're going to have to, like, raise their right hand or, put their left hand on the Bible or something, and which I would like to see, and or the Constitution, something, and reaffirm their declaration to, uphold the Constitution of the United States against foreign and domestic, because I think that's going to be very important going forward as well.
Well, this is what he took care of on June 14 about the DC units, and they warned them with the accountability letter, and it's so exciting because in the accountability letter they were letting them know that they have been operating outside of the Constitution. The whistleblowers from the agencies have said you have to follow their orders to get the raises and promotions, and that's the same in the military now. If you want to follow the Constitution and not do as ordered, then you don't get the raises, you don't get the promotions, you don't get to be these positions. So this is exciting, and this is going to lead right in. This is perfect to do this first and then do the letter, because nobody seemed to remember that letter. So
this is beautiful here. Restoration of sovereignty. Upon this recognition, all military outposts and operations abroad that were established under British Commonwealth or foreign dominion shall be lawfully closed or transferred, securing America's independence in full. Wow.
Isn't this beautiful? That's like my favorite of the whole thing.
I agree. I completely
Long
agree.
day coming.
When I read that, I was like, this is monumental. This is monumental right here. Oh my God. Binding duty. This order is issued in fulfillment of the President's sacred duty to uphold the Constitution, protect the people, and preserve the sovereignty of the Republic. All officers are bound by oath, honor, and law to obey. President Donald J. Trump. Now, this is interesting because we didn't know that President Trump was going to be there until I think yesterday they announced that he was going to be there with them. It was supposed to be Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, had called them in. That was what we had heard, and everybody's like, myself included, is like, I've never heard of anything like this ever. So, and then yesterday, it's like President Donald Trump will be there in attendance as well. And that's all they said. And now when I'm reading this, they're going to have to take a new oath. It's very interesting.
And are they going to, because there's enough information on those that have done what they've done. So
yeah, not all of them will. No.
I'm going to mention one more thing about summons to assembly, because it was originally announced, I I don't know if it was in the Wall Street Journal, et cetera, but it was originally announced that they were being summoned to the location. There was no mention of location. On a date next week, there was no date mentioned because this wasn't available.
Right.
And I think what they were looking for, because would there be leaks? Because the only time, he's made it very clear, remember Pete Hegseth removed someone from his right hand in the Pentagon,
Right.
and then the president removed someone who was considered one of his right hand in the White House.
Yep.
And when they did that trip to Iran, and they were in the air like 36 hours without touching ground, and all of that happened, and there wasn't one leak. Remember he mentioned there wasn't one leak?
Mm-hmm.
So this was never made public, except that it was mentioned, and the president and Pete Hegseth had summoned them to DC, was the wording. They're being summoned to come to DC was the only word that I ever heard about it. And as soon as I heard that, that's when I pulled up that letter from 1/1 of 2024. But before we go there, I want to mention one thing about the summons to assembly in number 3. This area in the West is considered a separate kingdom. This area in the West, that's why King George had to get involved. And that's what George is named after. And King George III was the king over England and France until Napoleon became self-declared. So he was over all of these things. One of his titles was, because Washington didn't want to be a king, they made him president of the United States also. So even though there was a president here, it was all controlled from there. So do you think that maybe some of the puppet master stuff is still coming from there? Because this is an order where it's very clear. It doesn't matter whether you consider me your president or you consider me the man over the Western part of the world, or you consider it because His Excellency is what they started using when he was in England a few days ago. And that's why those things that happened in England were so powerful, and that they were in Windsor because Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth were removed the day they found out they had COVID. They were immediately removed from Buckingham Palace. People don't realize the windows were boarded up and some were painted over, and nobody's been back. And then when they announced his death, 17 months later, they announced her death. 17 months later, they announced Jacob Rothschild over the Balfour Declaration of the State of Israel. I mean, are we seeing something major coming all together here? Because when he's not just saying President of the United States for America in that position, because that's the republic that they stole from us.
Wow. Yeah,
And the title was under King George III. They took him out in 1820, January, I think 29 of 1820.
So this is the one that you were talking about, the 1 January. Do you want to look at this one?
Absolutely. This was so powerful. I was so excited.
I didn't get, I need to read this about 10 times. I'm like, what? Like, oh my God, I haven't seen this one either. It's pretty amazing. So it's an open letter.
I'm so excited to bring it because you're military and you know stuff I don't know, but it was on that same day that the guys who composed this, who authored this, they notified us and said they were going to have a Twitter Spaces. And they said, if you want to ask questions, we're going to open it up. If you're going to want to ask questions, we'll do 30 minutes, an hour, whatever. At 3 hours, I signed off. At 3 hours, I was just like, oh my God, they're rocking and rolling. Do you know what I mean?
Oh my God.
And so right away, people were like, so when's this going to happen? When's this going to? Guys, this takes a long time, but paragraph 4 is so profound that I knew, because we knew some things about some of these, but to name specific ones and more, and numerous others, I think is the word they used, numerous others. And so, and none of us knew there were like 800 generals that they had to call into America. It was just like, what? Pretty amazing. So you want to take it paragraph by paragraph?
Yeah, it's, it's so phenomenal. Yeah, I think everybody's going to love to, hear it paragraph by paragraph. An open letter to the American people. So this is what this is always should have been when we saw Christopher Wray, making his testimony. How many FBI agents did you have at the J6? He kept I can't say that because that's classified or whatever however he was like dancing around it. And then later on they came out with there was like the Department of Justice said maybe 24. Now we're finding out there's like 10 times that many that were there by Kash Patel. Thank you. But this is what this is all about. So this is where things are going to start going. An open letter to the American people from signatories of the Declaration of Military Accountability. And then a quote from John Adams: "Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other." So the first paragraph: "In the course of human events, it sometimes becomes necessary to admonish the lawless, encourage the faint-hearted, and strengthen the weak. We have reached such a time in our history. The affairs of our nation are now steeped in avaricious corruption, and our once stalwart institutions, including the Department of Defense, now the Department of War, are failing to fulfill the moral obligations upon which they were founded. Standing upon our natural and constitutional rights, we hereby apprise the American people that we have exhausted all internal efforts to rectify recent criminal activity within the armed forces." That is monumental. Wow. This is something that I knew this my whole career, there was like lawlessness within the military on a massive scale. I thought at one time it was going to be rectified during at least one or two of those presidents, Clinton for sure, but there was a plane crash that killed a lot of military leaders, and that's very, very suspect that plane went down, because I think they were coming to basically rectify some of this. So it's on its head now. So the Department of Defense is a major reveal right there, because when I was in the SEAL teams, I started the hand-to-hand program, and it was all about offensive warfare. So I understand defense. Defense is basically you're stopping all action. You're not being an offensive, going after and defeating your enemy, being alpha male, alpha woman, whatever your military standing is. Being defensive is always a negative. So I was very encouraged when they called it the Department of War again.
Well, yeah, and that was the original name. And just think of Bonaparte coming in and becoming the Secretary of the Navy and switching it over to defense, because the Department of War, we were taking care of us here. And it was hard enough taking care of us here because of all the tyranny coming.
Sure.
And so this is so exciting that all of this is happening, because people keep wondering, is anything happening? And then the one indictment that came out Thursday being Comey, and then right away people were defeated again, because it's like you get a good note and then you find out the judge they're assigning is a judge that's compromised. And is he going to stay in it, or is he going to realize that he has to recuse himself? And so, but what if this is all going to flip over now to the correct judicial system?
Yes.
What if this is going to correct, because all the wording in that summons confirms that we've departed from.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because if we hadn't departed from under the admiralty of the Commonwealth, would he be doing this now right after his second major trip? The first one, she surrendered, capitulated, and then now his capitulation tour where everybody had to get involved, because this global thing is so huge. But having our guys over there while we're vulnerable, this is just making my day.
I agree completely. So in the Declaration of Independence, our founding fathers sought separation. We seek no separation, but through this letter and the efforts we pledge herein, we pursue restoration through accountability. We intend to rebuild trust and restore the rule of law, particularly within the armed forces. Ultimately, we strive to once again become a moral people, restoring our nation and making it again worthy of the great gift of liberty won by the colonial era American people. So, I mean, just that one set, we pursue restoration through accountability. So accountability has not been there for a long time.
Exactly. We can see it, and it's not just in the armed forces. It's
Yeah.
everywhere around us. It's in our food suppliers. It's in everything.
Good
It's
point.
in our medicals. It's in absolutely everything. It's in entertainment. I mean, it's all been taken over. But that's what happens. And what I love about the moral aspects of this, that was the difference between the faith monument and the soldier monument. Morality was the very first pillar, and then law. You have to have equal justice and mercy. Everything was set up, the parents and the grandparents, parents teaching, grandparents mentoring, and then you've got liberty. And then he's watching out on the shores to not let it come back. And that's why the Monroe Doctrine. You got to stop this tyranny, or you're going to let everything that we got away from be here. And that's what's happened.
Yeah.
So this is so great. I just thank you so much, Jaco, for us getting into this.
Oh, definitely. Now, the first two paragraphs basically set the stage. This is where the curtains, so you had the announcer come out. So now the curtain gets drawn back, and here is where the play really starts to get interesting. While implementing the COVID-19 vaccine mandate, military leaders broke the law. I couldn't believe it happened. I told everybody, there's no way the military will ever do this. And they did it, and I was like, what happened? Military leaders broke the law, trampled constitutional rights, denied informed consent, permitted unwilling medical experimentation, and suppressed the free exercise of religion. Service members and families were significantly harmed by these actions. Their suffering continues to be felt financially, emotionally, and physically. Some service members became part of our ever-growing veteran homeless population. Some developed debilitating vaccine injuries, and some even lost their lives. In an apparent attempt to avoid accountability, military leaders are continuing to ignore our communications regarding these injuries and the laws that were broken. And they name names. For General Miley, Admiral Grady, General McConville, Admiral Gilday, Admiral Lesher, General Brown, General Berger, General Smith, Vice Admiral Kilby, Vice Admiral Noel, Vice Admiral Fuller, Lieutenant General Martin, Lieutenant General Davis, Major General Edmondson, General Williams, Admiral Fagan, Vice Admiral Buck, Lieutenant General Clark, Major General Francis, Lieutenant General Dingle, Lieutenant General Miller, Rear Admiral Gillingham, and numerous others. These individuals enabled lawlessness and the unwilling experimentation on service members. The moral and physical injuries they helped inflict are significant. They betrayed the trust of service members and the American people. Their actions cause irreparable harm to the armed forces and the institutions for which we have fought and bled. Wow. So that's amazing. So all of these generals and admirals are put on notice to the American people. This is going to be this is what many of us have been waiting for. And how is justice going to be fulfilled? So military tribunals, probably for them, and probably like some people have said, Juan O'Savin has said it, that Comey is probably going to move in this direction. Because we know that there's corruption, like we talked about in the first letter, throughout the system, and that the system can't be held accountable. So if you can't hold it accountable, you have to move to a system that is accountable. And by President Trump and Secretary of War Hegseth, Pete Hegseth coming in and basically laying down the law and making everything perfect, once again, everyone accountable, then the military can start to do military tribunals.
Well, and it was President Jefferson who said exactly what you just said. He told us, he said, if that becomes corrupted, you can't just like pull out an evil and replace it with something. You can't do that. You have to completely come back to the structure of the republic. And that is what that summons is, because once you clean up the military, then we have guys that we know we can trust in the ranks to help all of us clean up everything else. Because that's where it starts. That's why Jefferson set everything up originally. And there's another key thing that, and people go, how do you remember this? I said, because God had me look up Tripoli and what it meant. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody. So all I'm going to tell you is in the Marine hymn, when he created the Marines after the Navy, I'm pretty sure it was Navy first and then Marines. I don't remember the exact dates. God help me. But
That's true. That's true.
But the Marines were sent to Tripoli to handle a major problem there so they wouldn't come here. But now we've had all of our members out there and nothing's been taken care of to help us here. You know what I mean? And so it all got flipped on us. And think about that Marine hymn. Go through the words of that Marine hymn. That's so powerful. Even on the shores of Tripoli, they will be defending America. And, but they've had to go out and then defend those guys. So this is so powerful what you're sharing. It's just, it's emotional. It's emotional.
Yeah. So then we go on to, and it still gets more exciting. These leaders refuse to resign or take any other action to hold themselves accountable, nor have they attempted to repair the harm their policies and actions have caused. Since there has yet to be any accountability, the undersigned give our word to do everything morally permissible and legally possible to hold our own leadership accountable. We intend to rebuild trust by demonstrating that leaders cannot cast aside constitutional rights or the law for political expediency. So many of them, are under the deep state. The deep state, that we've talked about, and it used to be you couldn't even say the deep state, but now we're openly saying it thanks to President Donald Trump. So that word is common now. And many of these, incredibly seditious leaders have basically committed extreme crimes, not only against their fellow military members, but also the American people by weakening the military. So that is something I think they're going to have to, be held accountable for.
Well, there's two things. People don't often hear the word sedition. Mm-hmm. And people can have fun. Look up the true, there's a lengthy definition of both, but sedition is prison term and death. Treason is ultimate death. Some can get prison term. They've gotten away with the consequences. I've said this last 5-6 years. They've gotten away with the consequences so long, guys, that, it's shocking them now that President Trump is bringing these things up. This has just been, it's been so exciting that he's been calling the news the fake news. Kennedy told us about it. He was speaking to them. The enemy was in the camp in the house, and he's speaking it and gave the whole thing to them as to what they have to clean up, because they don't need to send spies to America. You're revealing everything to them and letting him come and do all this to us. He said that in 1961. And so all of this had to be cleaned up. But this is such a major level of cleanup, and the next paragraph is even just as exciting.
Yeah. That's a good point, and it is. The flag and general officers are far from the only ones complicit in recent illegal activities, as a significant number of SES leaders and political appointees contributed. Evidence indicates that other executive agencies are engaging, and this is the deep state side, are engaging in illegal activity. And a lot of these officers will probably refer back to these executive agencies and claimed that they were acting under their, because this is how they took out JFK, through these other executive agencies. The deep state,
And
basically.
the DOD is part of the patent, the U.S. patent, developed on the bioweapon targeting they used on me. The other 5 speakers died within 30 days. Within about 30 days of the event date, they all went to the hospital and died.
Yeah.
And that patent has the DOD has a percent of that.
Goodness.
On top of the 6 grants of our taxpayer money to NIH Fauci to pursue it and distribute it. And the DOD shouldn't have a part of any of that. And it also says our government holds a percent interest, and Jefferson fought that with the centralized banks. He said the government can't hold a percent interest in a business. Your guys are operating outside the Constitution. He was trying to stomp it when it was happening then. And guys, this is back in 1791 and 92 and 93 that they were putting together the centralized banks. And he was only inaugurated, George Washington was only inaugurated as the president in 1789, but they didn't even consider it because they were connected with George over in England, King George III, who was considered also the president of the United States. So this accountability is so huge and no consequences from the very beginning of our nation. Nothing is different. We're just as stuck and just as bad off right now as they were at the time of the Civil War. It just looks different. It looks like we've had some freedom. It looks like we've had some, but the Native Americans told us they'll build up these industries and then they'll take them away. And what did they do? We have no steel industry. We have no cotton mills. We have no, they got rid of everything, all the manufacturing, and what was going to be left for us to try and survive. And that's why generations X, Y, and Z. So all of these layers that we were fighting through are no different than where they were at the time of the Civil War. And they knew that tyranny had returned and they weren't going to have liberty and freedom by the horrible battles in 1863, 100 years before they took out Kennedy.
Incredible. However, as service members and veterans, we feel particularly responsible for the DOD. And in accordance with our oaths, we will make every effort to demonstrate by example how an institution can put its own house in order. We, the undersigned, on behalf of hundreds of thousands of service members and the American people, while appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for guidance and purity of intention, mutually pledge to each other that we will do everything in our power through lawful word and action to hold accountable military leaders who failed to follow the law when their leadership and moral courage was most desperately needed. In the coming years, thousands within our network will run for Congress and seek appointments to executive branch offices, while those of us still serving on active duty will continue to put fulfilling our oaths ahead of striving for rank or position. For those who've achieved the lawful authority to do so, we pledge to recall from retirement the military leaders who broke the law and will convene courts-martial for the crimes they committed. For those of us who attain legislative offices, we pledge to introduce legislation to remove all retirement income for the military leaders who were criminally complicit, and we will ensure none serve in or retire from the senior executive service. So the senior executive service is something that Juan O'Savin has talked about for several years now as being the part of the deep state. This endeavor will be a continuous process with long-term horizon, but fulfilling our oaths to defend the Constitution requires just such persistent vigilance. Likewise, we are obliged and so committed to train those who come after us to fulfill their duty in achieving this accountability and safeguarding against such leadership failures hereafter. Our nation was once great because it was good. It was built on moral principles founded in natural law, and yet the recent acceleration of moral relativism has us headed towards a precipitous implosion. While all good things come to an end, We refuse to allow our nation to go quietly into the depths of decadence and decay. We promise to exhaust all moral, ethical, and legal means to restore our rule of law, and we'll begin by attempting to hold senior military leaders accountable. The Constitution is the supreme law of our land. We will fight to enforce that law and put an end to the two-tiered justice system. May future generations see our efforts, and God willing, may they also be recipients of the great gift of liberty that we have had the honor of safeguarding. Wow, this is something I wish that I had read when I was in the military, and I hope every military, soldier, officer, everyone reads this in the future. Wow, incredible.
And yet, what was crazy about that Twitter Spaces that night? Do you know what the people were asking that were on there? And a lot of them were military people. They were saying, "So when is this going to happen? And when are you going to get this done? And when are we going to see the court martials? And da da da." You know what I mean? How's this going to unfold? How's this going to turn out? And how's this going to, you know what I mean? And then the other ones were saying, "Why didn't you tell us? We would have signed this too." Da 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 da. They couldn't let it get leaked.
Yeah.
They did this they had all of the communication contacts. Everybody was served, just like a summons. They notified all these people at 4 a.m. Don't you love it? I mean, that's destructing and we know what we're dealing with. We're destructing the other kingdom because it's all about death. We're the only kingdom that's about life. And that's why His Excellency, this is going to be fun, but they were using that term when he was in England. His Excellency, and didn't they even introduce him that way with the UN? Did you mention that before? I think they used His Excellency and President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Wow.
I thought they said that.
That's good.
Because Mile came too. Did you see him? He was at the UN and he was they're all speaking the same language. And that's why it takes unity of all these nations to break up the world order. It's not just BRICS breaking up the financial, so the world order can be peace on all nations. Because the word nation in Hebrew means people. So if you're destroying nations, you're destroying the people that were placed here to do and be who they need to be and what they need to do. So it's getting flipped back on the flippers. It's cute. It's time. It's time. We've waited a long time for this.
Yeah, and you've worked hard. I mean, for this too. And thank you so much. So here's Nation Restored. You sent this to me. Full news day on 9/25, recorded before Comey indictment and terrorist groups. Executive order signed. RE Russia hoax. So there's this film. Did you want to watch this film? Is that the one you wanted to watch?
That film is several minutes, but it's so great. Scotty Films put this out, and it's so great because Pam Bondi's mentioning what she's mentioning, but it was just it was that I was acknowledging his videos, so I don't know that we have time to do that because it's several minutes.
Time.
Okay.
We have another. It's about 45 minutes. So.
Okay.
Let's do this, and then we'll go through your slides. Gosh,
okay.
Those are amazing. So this one is there's so much information in this. So this will be a good one to let everybody see.
Intel community, whether you are a current state or local elected official, whether you're a billionaire funding organizations to try to keep Donald Trump out of office, everything is on the table. We will investigate you and we will end the weaponization. No longer will there be a two-tier system of justice. And we are working hand in hand, Director Patel and I, Todd Blanche, with our incredible Intel community, Tulsi Gabbard, John Radcliffe, going nonstop around the clock. People will be held accountable.
It's like a whack-a-mole game we're watching now. People under them, people above them. I mentioned the 14 because the 14 name is Michael Sussman, and it's Michael Sussman's case. And I can't get back the 55 pager. I went ahead and deleted it because my computer kept saying I was overloaded and I was trying to finish the book. And Michael Sussman, number 14, in the Sussman case, and I've got the 12 or 13 page pleading, I can send it to you. It explains how the Russian hoax was a complete hoax. Out of thin air, it was the DNC, it was the Clinton campaign and Clinton Foundation that funded it. Mm-hmm. And it was done out of Georgia Tech, Atlanta, Georgia, everything in Georgia. And that was the header to Scotty's thing, telling him this is a top shelf thing, because 14 is when the book came out, World Order, from Kissinger on 9/9, which is 33, and then on 2014. And 14 was when the Noahide laws came out under Bush 41. Then it came out and expanded into our education system in 1993 under Clinton 43. What does that mean? It was Joint House Resolution 104, which is 14 under Bush, and then it was Joint House Resolution 410 under Clinton. That's a mirror of 14, which is 41, which is a mirror of 14. And so those are the Noahide laws that they said are the basis of our moral society. Those are the basis of what they said is a civil society. And now that we just did this, I just wanted to point that out, that 14 was the 2014 was the date. It was up in a block up at the corner by the capstone of the Georgia Guidestones. They didn't take it out until like 2018, 2019.
Interesting. So why is Hillary Clinton so far down on the list compared to all these other people?
Well, all of these other people were in all of her other pleadings. That's the beauty about Durham's pleadings. There's so many on Hillary Clinton. It's unbelievable. But it's Hillary Clinton with this sheriff, with this DA, with this, do you know what I mean? With this judge. He's identified everything. And people said, why is it so many pages? And I said, if you go to court, and I've been in court a lot because of what I've been through, your pleadings really shouldn't go over 4 or 5 pages. You should be able to just give a summary, 4 or 5 pages, explain to the court what's going on. Durham was doing 45 to 55 pages. Why? He's educating us on how pervasive the evil was operating. Because you don't know that you think it's Hillary Clinton. It's Hillary Clinton with this sheriff and this governor and this lieutenant governor and then this senator, and he's naming all of these people. Just like in the Sussman case, it's not the names of the techs at Georgia Tech and Atlanta. It's lead tech, it's tech 1, tech 3, the names of the people that they've got all of the depositions on. And then bank 1, bank 2 in Russia, because all of it was made up. None of it was real. Out of thin air, made up by techs at Georgia Tech. And so everything in there, and it's fun to watch. Now you can look back at when I first got it, it was so intense. You know what I mean? Oh my God, the text, these are students that they're using, and this could ruin their lives. You know what I mean? So I took that approach. But now that I go back and look at it, it is pretty funny that it's so pervasive because they don't want anybody to be able to speak against them, so they involve everybody. So their nets are so pervasive and so widespread that when you read these pleadings, it's just, guys, it's half of your town to take somebody out. It's not just 5 or 6 people involved. They're involving, but they're in the club. The majority of these people are in the club. You had to be in the club to be the pastor in this town, to be the business person in this town, to be an attorney in this town. You had to join the club. And that's why when we talked about this briefly, I think, of that Bonaparte, the same Bonaparte that set up the special agents and was over the U.S. Navy as a Navy secretary, when he was Attorney General, he set up this structure, the National Municipality League, that's now the National Civic League. And it's how he set up corporations over all little local governments. That's why even villages, towns, cities, and when you have that, everybody who wants to be involved in that, everybody that wants to be in a position has to do what? Join the club. So then the control you don't even see because it's all happening in secret societies. Do you see? It was so pervasive, and it has taken so long to say it. I just shared something on Twitter last night or this morning. All of this is happening so fast that what people don't understand is I've been sharing the truth, and people want to go, where did you get that? Where is it referenced? What page number is it on, etc. But when someone stands up and tells you 2 hours of lies, we've been programmed to accept that, oh my gosh, they've got 85,000 views or 85,000 people following them, and so they have to be believed. Those people are paid, and a lot of that is bots, and they don't have to prove to you anything. And I'm out here telling you the truth, and you want every last thing. I mean, and after I answer, I get the next question from the same people, and they're not bots; these are real people, but they're so scared, and they keep saying, "Well, now, okay, so you found that out over here. So then, where did you find this out that says this?" And I can spend all day and night answering all these things. But the thing is, I go to the Father, and we have directed the Father, and I've been having a website since 2014 on all of this stuff, and never have we given my opinion. Never do we give my opinion. It's always Sheila makes us go through the Father, and when we hear what the Father is saying about this situation, then we come to Sheila and we chat, because that's when it's powerful. Because there's no human out there that has answers, and they keep thinking, because I know things because Father has me go and look for it. Father creates how I can find it, and that's why then they break the links after I find it. I mean, and they're so mad at me, they break the web links after I release it in a book. It tells you we're over the target, guys. It tells you, and the price you've paid, Jaco, to come out and bring out all these things and bring out all these names. But now it's all available, and everybody was so mad because he said Sheila Sussman didn't even get arrested, so none of this even really matters, does it? I said he's the one that revealed all of it. The education process is, did you see? This whole thing is a joke. This whole thing is a hoax. Didn't even exist. And that was the first impeachment that they tried to take Trump out for. It was Russian hoax. And so what's involved? What's that group that they got that Comey and Yates kept going and signing like he was the foreign, it's the one where they make it that you were in trouble globally, and they file that like you're an internal spy or you're saying things you shouldn't be saying or whatever, and they were filing those against Trump all the time. And he wasn't the one that was sharing any of that information. It was all them.
Wow.
Rob Rosenstein was and there he is, number 20. And 20 means recycle unto death. That's kind of a funny number. But the foreign, it's filings that they did, and they got judges to sign against the president, and there was no documented evidence.
Foreign Information Act or something like that.
And it goes through a court system, and then they approve it. And the judges were doing all of this with no documented evidence because of these guys. And all of it's been fake.
You want this signed? Okay, I'll sign it for you.
Yeah.
They're all corrupt like you're talking about. They're all part of the club. Yeah.
So it's not just who's in the pleadings, it's all these other people. That entire system has to be taken care of. I mean, we got a lot to do. As Americans, we have a lot to do because it's all been controlled without our realizing it.
Yeah.
Over our heads.
And the money laundering, I mean, through so many different ways, we're finding out that our property tax, that a lot of it goes to pay for schools. Not hardly any of that money goes to schools. It goes to these people's bond. They do the bonds for the schools, and it goes in a lot of these people's pockets. So that's part of the money laundering that they do. So that's one of the things that we've started hearing, that a lot of this taxation is going to go away because it's all been funding this big club. That's beautiful.
Water bonds. That's what came out with the Palisades fire. school bonds, all these bonds, and
All the
they're
bonds,
all
yeah.
on your ballot, but you don't have any idea. You think it's good things and you should vote for them and you should
Yeah,
say
yeah.
yes. You're not getting anything for it. Yeah, you're right. This is good. Oh my gosh, this changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
And Christopher Ray. FISA. That's what it was. The FISA courts.
What was it?
FISA.
FISA. That's it. Thank you. Yep.
Just had to take a while. Now, Senator Schumer and Anthony Weiner are the only two on the Knights of Pythias that are listed where on the site, and they're still living. Normally, they don't let anybody know they're on those lists until the memorial pages, and they're the only two listed that are living. The rest of the names are only on the memorial pages after they die.
Interesting. Interesting. So, do you think they're going to sign the, to keep the government funded tomorrow?
Isn't it interesting about tomorrow? I mean, I think all sorts of things could happen tomorrow because really, seriously, I think, have you seen, and I think this is on my Twitter also, where Marine One is just hovering and Nessun Dorma is playing and the Beast is parked below and it just keeps playing. And Dan's put it out, I believe, 3 times.
Yeah.
I know I've seen it twice, but I think it's been out 3 times. And the timing on it, I think, is 34 seconds, and 34 seconds is my fellow Americans. I mean, there's some fun. They're having some fun.
Yeah.
And in the midst of this, Dan Scavino got engaged. In the midst of all of this. Yeah. And who would have thought that he had a moment? You know what I mean? And it just happened this weekend.
Have a social life, yeah.
Yeah.
Personal life, yeah.
The hunted, and now I'm the hunter.
That's fantastic.
Not the hunted anymore. He's the hunter.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we're doing as well. We're basically hunting them by disclosing information, and as the information gets disclosed, then the eyes, like those red laser eyes, they start to look, and people start to see. Oh, they start to know who the real enemy is and how they've been manipulated.
Yeah, and you mentioned about property taxes. There's a major thing to try and keep the senior citizens who don't make enough on their Social Security and everything to pay their property taxes. And so even though their house has been paid for 20, 30 years,
Yeah, and
they're losing their houses due to property taxes. But it's the same as eminent domain. It's the same as, all this stuff they're doing.
Yep.
So.
Unbelievable. So you want to go into some of the morality, the statues and stuff?
Well, I don't know if we can compare them. In the main one is the Civil War. I didn't combine them and they're not combined in the book. But the focus in the book, and I see now why. The focus in the book was the Soldier Monument.
Okay.
And if we do the Soldier Monument and then maybe just flash up the Faith Monument so people can see the difference. Like if we can see the 2 pillars, they can see it's absolutely identical. It's absolutely identical. And They went up 20 years apart. But here's the humor. This was all designed by the Pilgrims way back. They didn't get to put theirs up, erect theirs. Now, that woman is called Genius of Liberty. That has nothing to do with liberty. It says she has a sword and the wreath that she's holding in her other hand. So she's carrying a sword in her left and a wreath in her right. And that's because there's going to be a constant struggle for freedom.
Wow.
Isn't that wild? And yet she's a genius of liberty because she's going to be ready to pull out her sword. And what's she going to do with the wreath? I don't know. I think of those games at a fair where you put the circle over the top of a bottle top and try and win something, because that wreath isn't going to help her at all. But where it starts is the woman right there, and that woman is called the muse of history. This woman right here is education, and that's morality. History is morality on the faith monument. This woman right here replaces the mother as education and the grandparents as mentors. And the little brochure they have calls her prosperity, but the ranger, the park ranger at the National Cemetery in Gettysburg, called her plenty. She has a sheath of wheat. That's all she's got. But it's all about assets. Have you noticed the difference in America? Everything's about who owns what, and who they respect is who owns a lot. And that was all done to us also. The woman you see on the left that just came up, you see the pen in her right hand, and she's writing? That replaced morality. They put no words on this because the words are in the images. They had these, you see the things up on their head, they had these done. She, the one with the pen in her hand, is in Greek mythology, she's the muse for history. They took these models because they were saying, this is where we are. This is not what we wanted to have. But this is where we have become. This is where we have come to. And so she's in her personal perspective, she's writing down what she sees and calls that history. So it's all about their opinion, about their perspective on what history really is. And they've been rewriting it ever since. And then
so it's interesting. You see the broken columns, the collapse of civilizations probably, and so we have the victors write history. Mm-hmm. So you have the Civil War time frame where the victors wrote history, but who really were the victors? Mm-hmm. And prosperity plenty is not our focus. It's not our focus. And do you see anything about family? There's been nothing about the unity of family. And the 45 points has a series of numbers about destroying family. In fact, I think it's the second or third page. It's page 8, if anybody has their books. Page 8, because the table of contents is 5 pages. And it's on page 8, and it's to destroy the moral structure, the culture, the history, the family, make divorce easy, student riots, take them up to levels of riots, separate the children from the family, to take control of them. And that's why, they went to 1850 was compulsory public school education. So you take all the children out of the home so nobody in the home has an influence over them. And then you keep them there for hours and hours. And then now they build bigger and bigger schools. In some areas, while I'm in Georgia, there's a county school, but your elementary school is over here, 35, 40 miles, 60 miles, 100 miles over here is your junior high. Over here is your high school. I'm not kidding you. They're all spread out. And then the parents are judged if they don't come to all the activities and they have children in those different schools. So they're all on different buses and they're all in different locations. And that's what we've done. That's what we've done. So the one that's law is peace, and that's the guy with the factory. So this is...
Oh, there's the table of contents. It's just sickening. Just sickening. Let's see if I can see some of these, but discourage American history, discredit founding fathers. I'm not kidding. These are all the points that we haven't gone through yet in studying on the book, but all of this is all been done on purpose. Point 13, avoid all loyalty oaths. Separate the children from the parents.
Right.
And make divorce easy. Destroy the family. Discredit and destroy. It goes on and on and on and on and on about ruining us. And it's just layer by layer by layer by layer, and we didn't see the levels happening as they were happening. So we've complied long before vaccines and long before all of the stuff we're dealing with now. But this young man, if we can bring up the young man, he left Europe, left everything behind, his family, and families wanted their children to get here to this wonderful liberty and free America and not live in the tyranny over there. And they came here, and this pillar is called peace. But you don't see any words on these pillars. This is just in the brochure that you can buy at the gift shops at the stores. The Dobbin House is across the street from the National Cemetery. If you get to Gettysburg, please go to the Dobbin House. Please go downstairs and eat in the pub. It's much better food anyway. And then ask them to go see the museum, and you go out the back door of the pub and you come out a different door than what you went in.
Wow.
When you go in, you have to walk the steps down into that area for the tavern. And then you go out the back door of the tavern and ask them to see the museum, and they'll direct you. But they won't bring it up. And so just ask them when you get there. But the food is spectacular. And if you stay at the Airbnb, that's what I do, because then you get free parking, and it's hard to find parking in Gettysburg. And then across the street in the National Cemetery is where this monument is. And across from it is a monument to New York. And it's a monument to all of the groups they brought down from New York to take us over.
That's impressive.
And then there's one more instead of liberty. Now, yeah, there's the faith gal. There's one more guy on this, but maybe we should bring him up when we bring up liberty. You want to do that? And we can compare the other three and then come back to liberty.
Which one do you want to do now?
This is faith, the woman of faith, instead of the woman of the soldier monument. And I don't know if you want to bring up morality and go through like what we did on this one, and then bring up liberty when we bring up the Civil War soldier, because you're going to see the distinctive difference between where we were headed. And that's exactly what that letter of accountability goes over. So first is morality, and then law. This is morality, and morality, see, she's holding the 10 Commandments and a scroll of the Bible in her right hand, 10 Commandments in her left. Her eyes are closed. She's not looking out to the world to see anything. She's looking internal where Christ resides. I want the answers, and that's why I keep directing people as the Father what he's saying, and then ask us about it. And we'll help you. If you don't understand what he's saying, we'll help draw you closer to him, because that's all we're supposed to do. I just have, thoughts. I don't have the wisdom of the Father. And so this is morality, and this is what we were built on. And on one side it says evangelist, on the other side is prophet. And nobody should be involved as a prophet or an evangelist unless they're that type with the Father and operating for him, not according to what the world wants them to do. And all of that is flipped. And so after morality is law, and law is on the side panels, it's two words, mercy and justice. And you don't have law if you don't have mercy, and you don't have justice. So law is mercy and justice equal. Remember, the gal holds the equal measures. So law has mercy on one side and justice on the other. So if you don't grant any justice, you don't have mercy on the land. And if you don't grant mercy to people who are going through these things, you don't have justice. And so law and justice have to be equal. And down at the bottom, all of these have pictures, and the picture on this one is the most profound of all of them. And that is that if I injure someone today, then what happens is I get some of my peers, they get some of their peers, we go meet, and it all gets discussed, and we figure out where the truth is, and we grant some mercy to the one who did it, and the law is, of justice is for the one who was the victim of it, and it all gets resolved immediately. You don't draw it out. You don't do 18 months. You don't do depositions. You don't tell people what to say in order to be believed. And you don't have all of this going on behind the scenes and letting people off because they don't have all of the evidence, but yet the evidence is there to prove what it is that they did, but something is missing. I mean, we have just so messed up with all the attorneys and judges and everything that we've put in because it's all been a British system.
Right.
So this is a simple common law, is that let's just resolve it between each other. So because when you see the people down, you can tell when the stories are being told where the truth is. Because there are no versions of the truth. There's only the truth or it's not the truth. That's it. So then the next one, after law,
Yeah,
goes
no, like
morality.
when you
and then
go
law.
into a courtroom, it's like you're going onto a ship. They have
Yeah.
the doors basically going onto a quarterdeck, like I talked
Yeah.
about. And I've witnessed military justice, and it's like that. You come in, it's both sides are like you see there in the picture. Both sides are presenting their cases. You have the judge, whoever that is, appointed judge. You could go through what I remember is you went through the executive officer and then you went to the commanding officer. So the executive officer decided whether it was going to go forward, if it was presentable higher up, and then the commanding officer was the one that passed judgment, and it was done very quickly. It like we've talked about, and Trump has talked about. He was asking Z, how do you have no drug problems in China? And he says, well, in one day we figure out who is the criminal. If someone's dealing drugs, we decide if they have been dealing drugs, and if they have been, then they're executed. It happens all in one day. And Trump was like, he likes that. So we're going to probably see that pretty soon.
Well, and it's so different. People keep thinking it's so corrupt in China. When I was in it, this happened in Shanghai and Shenzhen. When someone takes something from somebody, like say you're walking along and somebody grabs your laptop case or whatever, or your briefcase or whatever, and they start running, or your purse or whatever, and they start running, you run after them.
Yeah.
And you tell the people that person has stolen from me, and that's what they do. And then everybody helps him, and they'll beat up on the guy if he won't surrender
Street
to the
justice.
point of being heard.
I've seen it a lot all over, everywhere I've ever been. It's street justice.
Wow.
Especially in the Middle East. There was one time I remember this guy was like speeding or something, and he hit somebody and killed them and tried to, leave the scene, and the people stopped him, drug him out, and he was executed.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah,
executed.
they won't stand for it.
No.
They just
No.
won't stand for it. Oh, it's so amazing. So much. And that's why you can't have all these illegal people here to get it cleaned up in order to get us safe again.
Yeah.
So there's so much good that is happening. And wow, thank you. That is amazing. But yeah, I love the picture on that one. It's amazing. And we can do this. And then there's one more before liberty. There's a mother who has the 10 Commandments in the Bible. And there's one more monument pillar, and it's called education.
Okay. Yep. There we go.
Okay. So she's got the 10 Commandments in the Bible. She's educating the children. You see how she's getting ready to teach and advise. And on the side panels, it's so adorable. It's the grandparents mentoring about the world and about the Bible.
Mm.
And when you think about it, the guys that were educated at home, I mean, were brilliant guys. I mean, I've seen so many histories on people who were so young, and at 26 and 30 were handling so many things in the world. A lot of times they were dying by 40, 50 in the original years. It was just a much tougher life. And so the parents are to educate, and then the grandparents are to mentor. And that's why you saw all those points in the 45 points, and the public school compulsory education, and the public school textbooks, and the public school teachers and unions controlling what the thoughts are of the children. I mean, it's just, they're directing them. But they're always telling the youth, your parents and grandparents are going to die. The only thing you can trust is the government, because the government will always be.
You froze up there for a little bit. The government will always keep?
The government will always be here for you. You can trust the government because they'll always be here for you, but your parents and grandparents are going to die. And so that's socialism, and it's been subtle. It was even true when I was in school, but I didn't know what that even really meant.
I know.
You know? What do you mean they're always going to be here? I mean, shoot, we're always going to have a government, you know? So, but the kids have been constantly,
I
even
grew
the
up in a
little
very, very
kids.
close family. I never fell for that.
No, I didn't either.
Yeah, it was.
We had discussions over dinner that I don't think many families have. You know, some people say we never talk. We talked all the time. We met for breakfast. Before, you know, and we were on the farm. My dad went out and had all the chores done before we had breakfast, and then we came down for breakfast, and then got on the school bus, and then he went out and did the rest of his work. But we had meals together, breakfast and evening meal together,
Nice.
every single day, and we hashed out everything. And doggone it if they didn't know stuff that I didn't want them to know by the time we wanted to hash out to dinner. So it, I love it. It's just amazing. And you have such a good family. But after education is the man of liberty and then the Civil War soldier. And the man of liberty, you already have him up, I think, on the screen.
Did I have him up?
Underneath, I think. Yep. And then the Civil War soldier, I think I have two for him. But this man of liberty, this is so powerful. On the side panel, he's got his foot on the side panel. The foot is on the neck of the man wearing the crown. It's so powerful. And then here he's got his foot, and you can't see it on the stone. It's on the side. It's the word tyranny. So he's stomping out tyranny everywhere he sees it. Okay, and he's got this. You see the paw of the lion of England is limp over his right shoulder. The reason that it's so limp up over his right shoulder is that he is actually seated on the head of that lion. Because you know how the lion, when they put the drape over when Diana died, and they put it over when they queen, and all the times they put it over the coffin, it's in red and gold, and it's a stand-up lion. And that stand-up lion is the same as for the Rothschild and the Rockefellers. In fact, in one of the flags, it was the stand-up lion with a Jewish word on the, or a Hebrew word on the top, and then it was the two stand-up lions and a menorah in the middle. So the flag of Israel is repeatedly changed from just being an olive branch and a dove. That's how it started, and then it's just continually changed. But this is so powerful because that lion has already been killed, and he's been skinned. That's the outside of the lion that you could make a rug of and stomp on every day. And that's so depictive of what they wanted to express. And what's in his hand, and I remember this from pirate movies, but it's an eyeglass that you can, it's like a expanding eyeglass, and you can look out to the horizon and you can see tyranny before it gets on the soil.
Oh, wow.
So that was the whole depiction of this man of liberty, is that he's going to make sure that it doesn't come back on that it doesn't come on our soil from over there, and then it did. So this, they didn't even, it took a while to build this. They didn't even put this up till 1889. 20 years after the concrete form one, the soldier monument was created, the cornerstone in 1865, and they put it up in 1869. This one didn't get up until 1889. And if you see on the right-hand side, National Monument to the Forefathers from a Grateful People. The Pilgrims made it, and it was the Faith Monument. So nobody knows what's this National Monument to the Forefathers, because it doesn't have anybody. Now the Civil War soldier is how they conclude the soldier monument, and he's holding a musket, and he's also got cannonballs by his left foot. So I put the cannonballs on there. You have to have that picture too, because it's so profound that he's going to have to protect everything about his family on his own. And then there's a front picture of him. You can see a little bit. This is the front of the monument, morality, and just like morality and liberty, it is history and war. It's called, but war is tyranny. And So the one of him in the front is him holding the musket. You can see him holding the musket in his right foot instead of stomping out tyranny. So you know these guys, they built an identical monument. You know they knew the truth. He's stomping, got his foot on broken clay pots because it's all become about assets. And you got to protect your own assets. You got to protect your own land. And so that's why he's got a musket in his hand. Do you see how his hand is wanton? That symbolism with his left hand, it's like all of this and we got nothing. We got nothing. And all the fighting, over 700,000 lives lost. You see his foot on the broken clay pots?
Right. So it's interesting the anchor that's in there too. So.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still got the.
Well, because they said anchor to be here, I think. You know, those typically have words on the side, but
Yeah. Yep.
But these have no words on the side. They have no words anywhere on this except Gettysburg, July 1, 2, 3, 1863, exactly 100 years before they took out Kennedy. 1863, July 1, 2, 3, those are the bloodiest battle days, the most lives lost.
Yep.
And guys were coming from all over. They have entire sections from Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa. They have all these people that came from all these different states to fight this and couldn't get there. But this is so profound that he has
When was the Gettysburg Address? Was that on the 4th or was it 5th or when was that? What date was that?
I don't know the exact date of it, but it was done from the Dobbin House, they said. That's why I've been so intrigued by the Dobbin House. Mm-hmm. And that was a big farm. And now there's a street in between the cemetery, of course, and the Dobbin House. So that is their original, I think the original house is now the bed and breakfast and another building on the farm. But what they did with the barn, they've changed everything because it was a big dairy farm, they said. And so there's a whole brochure about the Dobbin House and the history of it with the Civil War and with President Lincoln. But it's right in the heart of Gettysburg, and now it's just across the street. In fact, as you go outside and go across the street, you can see the top of this monument and the top of the New York monument from just starting your walk to get up to the opening. But I can honestly tell you, the park ranger knew those names that were in the brochure. But the guys that were giving the tours who brought them in and showed them, because you can't do a tour of the whole cemetery because it's just so much walking for people. So they were showing the sections from the different battles and how the men who died in those battles are all buried together. Almost all of them have obelisks in some of the sections, just saying, and on their tombstones, or that is their tombstone. And so you've got that going on. But none of those tour guide people that I spoke to knew that existed or what the name of it was.
Yeah.
So there, as you come in, and guys, it's probably, I'm thinking 50 feet. Used to be in a marching band, and I'm trying to figure out 50 feet versus 150 yards, probably 50 yards, like half of a football field. Because I'm trying to gauge from where you're standing. When you just come in, there's a straight in level, and then you're kind of walking down an angle to get to this monument, but you want to walk to the far side and go down the far side sidewalk. It's a complete U to come back. And so when you go down, you're going to see this monument first, and then the New York monuments right after that. And then you'll see the Dobbin House in the future, across the street. It's got a lot of black gating around all of it for protection, and the gates close at night. And so they protect it. It's, but I'm not kidding. I thought it was another faith monument, and my first time of seeing it, I already knew how bizarre this was and I kept saying, there's no words. And then God said, look at the faces. They knew they lost it all. They knew they got here, they did all of this, they fought all of this, and they accomplished nothing. And when they realized they're just killing the fathers, the believing men, over 700,000 had already lost their lives, and so they just stopped and went home. I mean, it just stopped, and they walked home.
Wow.
No transport, no way to get home.
Imagine fighting that war and winning that war, and then having your president assassinated. So I looked up the Gettysburg Address. It was on November 19th, 1863.
Wow.
The assassination of John F. Kennedy was November 22nd, 1963. 1863, 1963, only by a few days. Now, I've had people on my show that were part of the assassination. James Files, who shot from behind the picket fence. He said that they had planned to kill him in Chicago a few days before. So they may have actually planned to try and actually kill him on the same day that they killed Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
Because, there's a lot of similarities with, Kennedy and JFK. If you look at all the stuff about them, it's crazy.
It is crazy what they're doing. And there is I don't know if I sent the dedication, but the dedication portion is on 265 in the book. And all of this, we kind of lightly went over in the Taking Over Before the Self-Governing, point 43. And all of these pictures of the soldier monument are in point 43 because our guys found out, yep, we've got no out in this. We have no opportunity to have liberty and freedom. They have taken over absolutely everything about our lives. And imagine they didn't have the communication options we have now. They didn't have the transportation options we had now. I have a relative that had been given land in America to come, and he had already gone home because his time was up. They let him take, and he was done. And then he found out all the neighbor guys that he knew weren't home. So he went back in the war, the Civil War, and then he was captured days after he got in, and they didn't feed him. And so they were all starving. And so when they finally let them all loose from Anderson Prison in Georgia, near Americus, where Jimmy Carter was, in Plains, in Georgia, when they let him go, he was walking home and he didn't have the strength to make it all the way home. So he died en route the second time going home from the Civil War.
Wow.
So these are all in the book. He's showing you now the pages of the book. I just thank you, Michael, for everything you're doing. And that dedication, that cornerstone and dedication was 1865 immediately, and he was killed in 1865, 42 days into his second term. It's April, but I don't know which date in April. Probably the 15th, I don't know. But it's in April, I'm pretty sure. 42 days into his second term of being president. They never thought he'd be reelected. And the humor is, in their group, they were just going to kidnap him and make him come back around. They were done with him. They couldn't let him be in charge.
Crazy. Wow. So now Trump is, he's resisted assassination. How many times we'll probably never know, or maybe we will. But he's still there. But imagine if we win against all this craziness and he was assassinated, and then they started bringing in all the things that we basically overcome, because that's what those guys went through, and it must have been very tragic for them to have fought in the Civil War. Like we said, won the Civil War, then seeing your leader killed, and then seeing all the stuff start to come back. With the Democrat South basically coming in with the KKK, and then basically getting all because the posse comitatus basically was put there so that the Democrats could come back and start all the stuff they've been doing, because they put the military down there to basically say, don't get out of line. So there was a military occupation in the South so that they wouldn't get back out of line, and then that was taken away. Posse comitatus, basically no military involvement in the United States. So somehow that's got to be taken down, because we are going to have it's because, like a lot of us have said, it has to be through the military. And from what we've been reading, going over today, I think everybody, if you've been unaware at this point, this would be the greatest thing to share with people that maybe don't understand that the military is on the way. Now you will, after seeing this video. Excellent job, Sheila.
Thank you so much. None of this was planned. I didn't even know about the Soldier Monument until I was on my way to Batavia, New York in August of 23. And because I found this and took the pictures, I showed the pictures and I was allowed to add it to the presentation in Batavia. And then it's been on all the presentations since. But it's not had the hit with people to understand how bad this was. And our guys have tried 6, 7 times since the Civil War to get our freedom and liberty, no matter what they were going to do, no matter what. It lost a lot of lives. And it took a Trump to come in and put his foot on tyranny in all these different ways and all these different levels. And yet it's still up to we the people. And what a powerful thing in that letter from our military guys and gal, there were 2 or 3 gals, I think, or one, at least 1 or 2 in that group that were the authors of this document, that they started out with the same authorship of the documents of our freedom in this land. And so the depth of what people are saying and what they're doing is so much more than what I've done. But I have never known where all of this was going to lead. I never knew I was going to write all these books. I never knew that they were all going to fit together. I didn't know that the book series, there's no number 1 on the first one because the woman tapped me on the shoulder and said, you've got to tell the people in writing what you have been shown in Georgia, because just telling the people isn't going to be enough. They're going to have to read it and chew on it and reread it and blah, blah, blah. And I went, I don't know you. What do you mean you're telling me I'm going to write it? And so I turned around to her and I said, I've already done a dozen books and I've already said all the things that I think I need to say. I don't need to be writing another book, and definitely not about Georgia. Because you see, I'm from San Diego and I've been here for 3 years and I've done enough, dozen books, 3 years. It's enough. You know what I mean? Thinking I knew the answer. I mean, but I do this with God all the time, because it's like I go into what I call it Sheila mode, because what makes sense to me is what I've learned. And as much as the Father has taught me all these other things, I'm still Sheila and I'm from San Diego, and I'm keep reminding him like he doesn't remember. And I keep telling him what I have to do. But guys, that was 2016. We're almost into 26. And at that point, I was here for those 3 years. And in 7 years, the 18 books were out, never having any idea I'd do the new book, and never having any idea that I would be able to explain to people how what we've been through and what I've been through, I can help connect the dots, because I didn't let them stop me. I kept fighting, just like what you had to do, Jaco. It's what we have to do, because you don't get the miracle unless you come through the storm. Just telling you, if you stop at any point during the storm, you don't know how much of the storm is still left, and the storm doesn't disappear because you stop, and the storm doesn't disappear because you quit for a few days. The storm doesn't. That doesn't change. And that's why I kept sending out, and people go, why are you identifying with the buffalo story? There's a beautiful picture I've sent out on Twitter several times, and it's all blue and it's snowing. It's such a gorgeous picture. And here's this big bison, this big buffalo, and you just see his head. And you just see he's covered with snow. I mean, just caked with snow. But he doesn't stop in the middle of the storm because he knows you have to get on the other side. I mean, if even a bison buffalo can figure it out, but it took a long time before I knew that analogy. So there were times I thought I wasn't going to. In fact, I asked to go home, which is when he catapulted me. And I said, I think I've done everything I can do, and they've messed it up for the last time, and they've taken my car for the 7th time, and I got no options, God, and I just think I just need to come home. That's what I need to do. And he said, through me, you can do all things. And I go, yeah, what can you do with me? This time they came in through my phone, didn't use the code. It was a guy, not a gal, came in my garage, through my security system, took my car. And I've rebuilt my life how many times? Wow. What can I do for you? I wasn't home for 3 years except to do laundry and repack. And he handled everything at home and there. So guys, here's the gift of this. If we will stand in faith together in unity, because they don't want us to. That's what that whole thing of the 45 points, they divide everything. And if they destroy the tightness that Jaco has talked about his family, if they destroy that family structure, you don't have a chance in this country. And that's why they did this from every layer, to convince them that they had the truth and you didn't. That nobody your parents are listening to knows the truth, that your parents don't know the truth. You've got to listen to other people. They swayed them away. The brown shirts in World War II is the same thing that happened with what happened around Charlie Kirk. The new symbol they came out with on 9/10, they were coming out with it on 9/11, they came out with it on 9/10, is anti-nation, anti-state, anti-class, anti-fascist. And the thing is, we're the fascists. That's the biggest lie you could imagine. We're not the fascists. They're the fascists trying to tell you that we're all fascists and you need to stay away from us when the fascists are them. The whole thing has been flipped to that degree. Anti-nation, anti-state, anti-class, anti-race, anti-class, anti-fascist. I mean, it's unbelievable. And the symbols have never changed. And we can go deeper into that at another time because I've held you so long today. I just can't thank you enough, Jaco, for doing this and bringing this
Well,
to the
there's so much
attention of
more
the
that
people.
I wanted to go over too, but I mean, we went pretty deep in that stuff. I'm glad we went deep in that other stuff. But yeah, thanks so much, Sheila. Always a pleasure and honor. I don't know how you just keep coming up with more and more stuff. It's just so deep.
It all comes together.
Yeah, I know, right?
And I've lived it. And when
Yeah.
my dad told me, he said all this horrible, horrible stuff, because he knew, I mean, all this happened in the 80s and 90s, and he passed in 2011. So he knew all of that part, but he didn't know how I kept saying, I'm going to make you proud of me again soon. I'm going to make you proud of me again soon. And that was in 95 when they changed everything, driver's license, social security, changed everything in one day, said it was all synced. They've never synced me ever. And it's never been a separate record. So it's all been a lie. But Dad saw me coming through all this, and I called him. He was at the farm. He wasn't in town. He was at the farm. And I'll never forget that moment because he said, you have to stop what you're saying. I said, what's wrong, Dad? And he goes, don't you ever think there has been a day in your life I've not been proud of you. It's like, I've been going through hell out here, do you know what I mean? But if I hadn't lived these things, if I hadn't survived these things, if I hadn't, I mean, the targeting was like, okay, 6 months in bed, but God brought me through it. The ones who went to the hospital, the other 5 speakers died.
Yeah.
And so he brought me through it. And if I hadn't come through it, because nobody's come through it, because you can't come through cobra venom, and I've had multiple doses, and if you can't come through it, they wouldn't have been able to find the patent and know that our Department of Defense was in on it and know that it was a U.S. patent and that our government holds a % interest in it to create and disperse a bioweapon to use against we the people.
Yeah.
I mean, what a concept. If I hadn't lived through these things, Jaco, I've not been happy about a lot of it coming through it. I've not been pleasant for God to deal with. People keep thinking I'm like totally amazing. I'm not. I'm a human. I get upset, and coming through these things has not been easy. But when my dad said all this horrible, horrible stuff, you think it's never, ever going to matter. But soon, very soon, you're going to find out just how much it matters. And it had to be God telling him. Because he was gone, like 12 days later, he was gone. I was back in the Midwest, and I was going to fly out the next morning, and I said, I got to hug him before he goes to sleep, because you don't wake them when they're starting to not have memory, and then pretty soon they don't remember what their bedroom even looks like if you jar them. And so I said, I'm not going to wake him. I'm leaving so early to fly out in the morning. I need to talk to him. And I gave him a hug, and he took me by the wrist, told me about my life for a half hour, and it was God speaking to me through my dad. And when he said that, though, but my dad has always been proud of me when he said that, and that's why they don't want you to have a tight relationship with your father, on earth. They don't want you to have that tight relationship, as Jaco mentioned, with his family. They don't want you to have that. And so by having that, for him to take my wrist and talk to me for a half an hour, and that was from 7 to 7:30 at night, and my mom kept me up until 1:30 in the morning asking what he was talking about, because being in the war from New Guinea up to the Philippines through all the islands and seeing what the Japanese were doing to the Australians, he didn't tell me much, but he told me enough other than it was just abject horror, Sheila. And so he didn't want to talk about it. But to know that he has given me so many lessons in my life, and without that relationship, without my mom learning to understand by those last days of Dad's life, then she asked him about it. I mean, guys, they don't want us to have each other. And what we need is each other through this, because we the people are what's going to make America survive through this storm. And it takes all of us. And so whatever they're doing in finances, God bless them. I don't know what they're doing. Whatever they're doing to bring the manufacturing back, I'm trying to help with a couple of industries, but guys know how to do it. I'm not trying to do the things I don't know how to do, but anybody listening to this, that you can do something to help us come together as a people in the truth to bring us through this. We're the example for the world, and the rest of the world is doing this. Brazil is in trouble. I'm getting everything translated into Portuguese. Australia is in trouble. Canada is in trouble. South Africa is in trouble. These other nations, we're the same. All of us are going through this. And the president's paying the price to everything. And that's why you see all these other nations honoring him, is because they're watching him bring us through this. So please, whatever you can do. And that's why I'm so thankful, Jaco, you understand the depth of this because of your military background, and that you give me this opportunity to express all of this, because it's like I can finally let it go, because now it's in the hands of the people, and may their ears be open and their eyes be open, that we have never been able to have progress before the Civil War or since the Civil War until President Trump. There's never been an opportunity to come through like this.
Yep.
So I just thank you so much, Jaco.
Well, thank you, Sheila. And to find more of Sheila's work, go to hisbest.org. And Sheila, always a pleasure and honor. Like I said, thanks so much, and we look forward to having you on again.